Leonardo DiCaprio, the all-American boy with the Renaissance name, has defied easy definitions. An intense and chameleon-like actor, Leonardo went into acting as a way to escape his impoverished childhood. It was by chance that he had a precocious talent. He never dreamed how well he would succeed. Since James Cameron's Titanic, his success never waned, as he teamed up with the greatest directors in movies we all remember. Danny Boyle's The Beach, Scorsese's Gangs of New York, Steven Spielberg's Catch Me If You Can, Ed Zwick's Blood Diamond, Ridley Scott's Body of Lies, Christopher Nolan's Inception, Clint Eastwood's J. Edgar, Tarantino's Django Unchained.
It all started when Martin DiCaprio and her husband George were strolling through the Uffizi Gallery in Florence, Italy. She was in front of a fantastic painting by Leonardo da Vinci when she suddenly received a swift kick from her unborn baby, and she took it as a sign. On November 11th, 1974, Leonardo DiCaprio was born in Hollywood. Leonardo's family was dirt poor, and this really motivated the young boy to get out of his meagre circumstances and do better in his own life. When he was just a little boy, Leonardo appeared on his own favourite TV show, Romper Room, and he was nearly kicked off the set because of his disruptive behaviour, something that was actually to show up later in life. The experience did nothing, however, to dampen his enthusiasm for acting.
Acting is the only sure bet that I've ever had, the only thing that I've ever really known that I've wanted to do.
And cut.
When an agent recommended that Leonardo was far too fancy a name, he suggested that the actor call himself Lenny Williams, much more American-friendly, apparently. Leonardo, good for him, said no, stuck to his exotic name, and despite it, did remarkably well. He starred in the spin-off TV series Parenthood. He appeared in only 3 episodes, but the word was already out. There was a new hot talent in town.
In 1991, the 16-year-old hit the silver screen for the first time in the B film Critters 3. That same year, he received rave reviews as Luke, a homeless boy who had a recurring part in the TV series Growing Pains.
In 1992, Leonardo blew away the competition when he auditioned for the De Niro vehicle, This Boy's Life, playing De Niro's son. He was one of 400 boys who went for the role, including Tobey Maguire. Tobey actually was so terrified of starring opposite Robert De Niro that he froze completely in the audition. Leonardo snagged the role, but because by then the 2 boys had made friends, he actually scored Tobey a small role in the film. From their late teens, Leonardo and Tobey Maguire and a few other hot young celebrities got a reputation for being rebellious, for clubbing through the night and chasing gorgeous supermodels. The list of Leo's conquests goes on, and I have to say his frequent attendance at fashion shows all over the world didn't really have anything to do with his own interest in designer wardrobe, but much more with the gorgeous women who were wearing the clothes.
While busily generating his party animal status, Leonardo remained very close to his adoring mother and sometimes brought her and a date with him to his premieres. He lived with Ermeline in Echo Park until he was 20 and has been quoted as saying that he would be happy if he found a woman with half the qualities of his beloved mom.
I took my mother to Golden Globes, and unless I get a girlfriend real quick, then I'll probably take her again, because I think she's the most important woman in my life right now.
In between parties, Leonardo was cultivating a serious reputation as an extremely talented actor. In 1993, the 19-year-old was cast along with Johnny Depp and Juliette Lewis in the quirky and independent film What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Leonardo positively disappeared into his character, the mentally handicapped Arnie, so much so that when they were looking through the shots, frame by frame, the director, Lasse Hallström, could never find anywhere at all where he dropped out of character, even after he called cut. Audiences were completely blown away by his performance, and not surprisingly, the role led to an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. But Leonardo was never one to be really swept away by awards and nominations.
I've been acting for a little while now, and I see what heat does and how it can sometimes be, in disguise of something else, that it's not always what it seems, that, things fade away and then they come back and then they fade away. And, I just want to have a long career, and I'm looking at it as something that's, just going to give me more opportunities for the time being.
In 1995, the neo-western The Quick and the Dead was being cast, and along with Gene Hackman, Sharon Stone was starring, and because she was such a powerful force in Hollywood at the time, she was given her choice of directors and co-stars. And she was so determined that Leonardo should play the part of Gene Hackman's son that she announced that she would personally pay his salary as long as he got the role, and she did.
The 21-year-old surpassed the leading lady's expectations.
Leonardo is without a doubt the most talented, gifted actor I've ever seen, ever. I've never seen anyone who has the gift that Leonardo has. He has this unbelievable ability to transcend all things.
Leo got to lock lips with the gorgeous Sharon Stone. Admittedly, it was very brief, and it only took 2 takes.
I'll tell you what it was. She shoots the guy, and then she grabs me by the neck and she goes, and like flings me off, sort of. It's not like a passionate thing by any means. And you know what? I was expecting a little more from old Sharon.
Leo's 19, so it's a lot like kissing your arm. This was my first kiss of a 19-year-old. But with Leo, I sometimes sit and look at him because we've become good friends. He's a brilliant mind, just astonishing creativity, just way, way beyond what you can imagine someone who's been 17 years out of diapers to have any comprehension of. His sense of life and truth is really astonishing.
While Leo was turned down for the part of Robin in Batman Forever in 1995, he got the thumbs up to play the main character in the dark and moody film version of Jim Carroll's gritty autobiographical novel, Basketball Diaries.
It's a low-budget movie in New York. It's about this kid growing up on the sort of hip streets of New York and getting addicted to heroin. So it's a real sort of dark film.
Unfortunately, the performance was so compelling and convincing that a high school student in Kentucky who was just 14 copied one of the dream sequences in the film and gunned down 8 of his classmates, actually killing 3. A lawsuit was filed against the filmmakers by the families of the victims, but it was eventually dismissed based on First Amendment rights.
When we come back, Leonardo turns his back on the opportunity of a lifetime.
Leonardo was set to turn down the next role that came his way too, in Titanic, directed by James Cameron. He was more used to playing brooding, intense characters and didn't much like the idea of playing the leading man in what was obviously going to be a massive blockbuster. During a screen test with Kate Winslet, Leonardo refused to read some of the lines of Jack Dawson, his character, seriously. It didn't matter a bit because Cameron and Kate both realised his potential. Kate was so intent on having Leo as her leading man that she personally sent him a single rose signed "Your Rose," the name of the character. She and Cameron worked relentlessly on the start to try and get him to sign on the dotted line, and finally he gave way and agreed to take on what was to become his first multi-million-dollar part.
Titanic went on to be the highest-grossing film of all time. It was nominated for 12 Academy Awards and won 11. Although Leonardo was not nominated for an award, the role as Jack Dawson had a catapulting effect on his career.
I wouldn't give it up, the opportunities that I've been given from that movie, up for anything. It's given me great opportunities, and so I'm thankful for that.
But with Titanic fame came Titanic trouble. From early on, Leonardo seemed to be chased by legal tangles.
In 1995, Leonardo Tobey Maguire and a few other young actors decided to improvise in front of the camera, or so they thought. A feature-length drama, Don's Plum, was put together, which was full of crude talk and bad language. And Leonardo and Tobey decided to sue the filmmakers, claiming they never agreed to take part in a full-length feature film. In 1998, Leonardo sued Playgirl magazine over their plans to publish nude pictures of him. The origin of the picture was unclear and may have been clandestinely snapped during a love scene on a movie. The magazine reportedly paid an undisclosed amount to DiCaprio in damages.
Between and among legal battles, in 1998, Leonardo was cast in another period piece, the historically based film called The Man in the Iron Mask. The film was shot in France with the legendary French actor Gérard Depardieu.
No, I was very impressed by Leonardo because he's, at that time he's 22 years old. And he's such a lot of experience, but he's got beautiful things because he listens and he mimic all the time, but he knows the best way of each other, you know, and that's very strong.
Along with Depardieu, the 24-year-old actor had a chance to work with a number of other screen legends. The impressive cast included John Malkovich, Jeremy Irons, and Gabriel Byrne.
We all felt, I certainly felt honored to be there and, you know, sitting amongst all these guys, acting with them. And, you know, I learned a lot just by watching their processes, and I think right away everyone clicked and recognized that we were happy to be there and it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and thus everyone acted like school children and were constantly making jokes and, you know, being ridiculous all day, which was fun. Getting into each character was, you know, that's the fun part for me as an actor, is sort of being comfortable with each one of the characters and being able to switch over, you know, sometimes 4 times in one day. That's fun.
The film had a good opening weekend, probably due to Leonardo's colossal popularity, still flying high off Titanic, but quickly, the ticket sales dropped off. Fortunately, Leo could forget about the box office disappointment by basking in the idyllic setting of his next big movie. The Beach. Shot on the exotic Phi Phi Island in Thailand, the 26-year-old was ready for something new.
Something about the character struck a chord in me, something about the story struck a chord in me. I loved this idea of this young man going off in search of a real tangible emotion, a real experience, rather than, you know, everything being so structured in his life.
It wasn't just the character that appealed to Leonardo, it was also the political underpinnings of the story that rang true for him. In many ways, the idyllic setting made the shoot more like a vacation than work.
Unfortunately, the film sank at the box office. A few months after the film's release, the disappointed actor met Gisele Bündchen at a party in Hollywood, and she immediately helped him to forget the soggy reviews. The couple fell madly in love and were quickly seen about everywhere in Hollywood. Plus, Leonardo already had another new, exciting project on his mind to be directed by one of his idols.
I heard about Martin Scorsese wanting to do a huge coming-of-age story, an epic set in America about Irish immigrants, gang members. I didn't know much about it, but I knew that it had a part as a lead for a young man, and he was my favorite director of all time. And I was blown away. It was the best news I'd ever gotten in my career.
Although Leonardo eagerly wanted to work with Martin Scorsese, as it turns out, Scorsese had been watching Leonardo for quite some time.
My close friend and collaborator, Robert De Niro, told me about him specifically. He doesn't usually do this. He told me he did a film with him called This Boy's Life. The kid was 15 years old, apparently. He said, watch this. He's a very interesting kid, very interesting actor. And he said, someday you should work with him. And then he did Titanic. And right before he did Titanic, I saw This Boy's Life. I saw What's Eating Gilbert Grape. And I just knew him as really an actor with a great deal of promise and extraordinary energy and talent. So when Titanic occurred, and he became a great movie star, at that point, along with not only would I feel secure with the young man as an actor, but also bankability.
Leonardo was so enthralled about being a part of this film that he and Scorsese actually took pay cuts to keep the budget under control.
Up next, Leonardo takes the act out of acting.
In one fight scene between his character Amsterdam and a rival gang, he actually broke fellow actor Daniel Day-Lewis's nose. Daniel Day-Lewis, amazingly, carried on acting until Scorsese yelled, "Cut." Leonardo clearly has a soft spot for dark environments and films with edgy characters, so Gangs of New York was perfect for him.
To be honest, I mean, this was almost like a circus of freaks down there. Only if you were very courageous you would go down there. People were half drunk on the worst types of alcohol, committing all kinds of horrible sins on each other. It's a place of debauchery, and it was the lowest of the low. It was the low point of New York, but it was the point where it was the place where politically a lot of the initial, when the riots happened, people first spoke out about the injustices that they felt that were put upon them, and those were the first Irish immigrants first started to rebel against the war.
The Scorsese-esque fashion garnered the film 10 Academy Award nominations, but no wins. In the same year, Leonardo appeared in another high-profile film with another master director, Steven Spielberg's Catch Me If You Can. Leonardo won a Golden Globe for Best Actor for his role as real-life conman Frank Abagnale. Leonardo's acting was even more impressive, considering he was sick with the flu for a majority of the fast-paced shooting schedule.
The great thing about Leo is, sometimes, because we were moving the camera around pretty fast, we'd do a scene, and then we'd have about 10 minutes of light. Leo would just flop down, take a cat nap, get up, look really fresh. His mojo would be working, his endorphins kick in, and he's right there at the top of his game. And then he crashes again.
The worst thing was how physically exhausting this film was. I mean, I was sick for a good 2 months because of the pacing of the film, but I think it was really important because it was very reflective of Frank's actual life.
Leonardo was doing fine for himself anyway. He went on to be cast by his friend Scorsese as Howard Hughes in the biopic The Aviator.
It went beyond my expectations, really. I mean, to be able to capture a sort of mythic, mysterious figure and personality and multi-dimensional personality like Howard Hughes, there's so many different elements that can work against you. There have been many film attempts in the past to try to portray this man because of how interesting he is. And I think by being able to focus on his younger years, where you see an initial descent into madness, it's not the aftermath. You see a man that's the first American billionaire, the first pioneer in the world of aviation, a huge, presence in Hollywood, the golden era of Hollywood, and making these, monumental epic films, coupled with the fact that he has an intense fear of microscopic germs that eventually made him a madman. All that it was such a dynamic combination of things that could have easily gone wrong, but the movie went beyond my expectations, so I'm very proud of it.
But it was a lot of hard work getting there.
It was, a long process. We had about a year of rehearsal time, which was very good because of the scope of the character in the movie. I met with doctors who specialize in obsessive compulsive disorder, and kind of lived with the man for a couple days who had OCD. Met Jane Russell, who worked with him, and Terry Moore, his ex-wife, and read everything I could, watched the footage, and really had marathon rehearsal periods with John Logan and Martin Scorsese.
As his second film experience with director Martin Scorsese, Leonardo's admiration for the legendary director only deepened.
You come in with your intention of a scene, and sometimes it could be completely turned around. He may have a completely different attitude, and you have to be prepared at any time to go with that. But really, the most amazing thing with him is his intense knowledge of movies and the history of cinema. Besides that, he has a genuine love for working with actors and making movies. It's a great passion of his life.
Scorsese had a similar appreciation for his lead actor. Leonardo observed how his leading ladies were so motivated to work with Scorsese that they left nothing to chance.
No, it's a cliche in Hollywood. Who do you want to work with? Oh, Martin Scorsese. People don't come in unprepared, to meet him. Even Gwen Stefani, who has a small role in this film, came in as Jean Harlow. She had fur on and the hair was done up. Kate Beckinsale came in as well. She was Ava Gardner. So they did a lot of the homework beforehand, and these women really came in and embodied these characters, especially Kate Blanchett coming in and trying to portray Katharine Hepburn, who's one of the most iconic female figures of the 20th century,
Leonardo had to find a way to understand how Hughes dealt with the beautiful women in his life.
I kind of looked at his relationship with women the same way he looked at airplanes, I think he had genuine love for them, but he couldn't stick with just one. He was always moving on to the new, faster airplane, the bigger turbine jets, the sleeker new look, and the same with women. He constantly was changing and couldn't just sit in one cockpit. That's a good analogy.
The Aviator was nominated for 11 Academy Awards, and this time, Leonardo was included. While the dedicated actor remained hopeful, he did not let it get to his head.
It's the cherry on the sundae, You put all this work into a movie, you release it out there, you never know how people are going to react. It's hard enough to make the movie in the first place, but then there's the whole element of the audience's reaction to it. Anyone would be a fool to say they wouldn't want to be recognized for something like that. So I can only wish for the best.
Over the next 2 years, Leo and director Martin Scorsese must have missed each other a lot because they joined forces again in 2006 for The Departed with Matt Damon and Jack Nicholson. Then he re-teamed in romance with his Titanic love interest, Kate Winslet, on Revolutionary Road.
It's a realistic portrayal of two people that are flawed and two people that are really struggling to try to make things work.
Next came fast-paced action, directed by Ridley Scott. Body of Lies also reunited Leo after 13 years with his old co-star, Russell Crowe.
We had a lot of conversations when he was a young fella, and that friendship and connection is still alive, and that was a really interesting thing. It was great for me to think in terms of, well, we'll see how he's gone. A lot of big things have happened to Leo. I mean, he was in Titanic for Lord's sake.
In 2010, Leo played a U.S. Marshal in Shutter Island. The mysterious thriller was also another chance to work with a familiar face.
He's a renowned worldwide master filmmaker who's made some of the best movies of all time.
Okay, it's a cut.
And that same year, he was a highly skilled thief in the sci-fi Inception.
Leo's performance is extraordinary in the film. It seems essential that extraordinary performance be the guide for the audience. Otherwise, it would be very easy to get lost in the world of Inception.
A year later, Leo teamed up with renowned director Clint Eastwood for a biopic about J. Edgar Hoover.
He is very bright, and he likes doing offbeat parts. He isn't satisfied just being a matinee idol. He's interested in doing other roles that stretch his imagination.
In 2012, Tarantino offered him the chance to play a memorable villain for the first time in Django Unchained.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Being on an all-star team.
Yeah, and Leonardo.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Sam.
Amazing.
Then, in 2013, The Great Gatsby was not so great, but he would also re-team with Scorsese for another outstanding movie, The Wolf of Wall Street. After his acclaimed performance as a frontiersman fighting for survival in Alejandro González Iñárritu's movie The Revenant in 2015, he finally got to get up on stage to receive the Oscar that everybody was waiting for Best Actor. In 2019, he was cast along Brad Pitt in Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which raised critical acclaim.
For me, ultimately, it's just an immense appreciation that I have for the position that I'm in, and the fact that this guy is suddenly sort of struggling with his own pathos, his own own ability to gain confidence and persevere and get that next job. I don't know, I immediately connected with him. I have a lot of friends in the industry, and I know how lucky I am to be in this opportunity. So I just feel immense gratitude.
Leonardo has enjoyed the fruits of his hard work. His wealth and fame are at an apex, but deep down, he is still just a regular kid who grew up in Echo Park.
What a lot of people don't realize is that I'm sort of cocooned in my environment at home, and I have my regime of things that I do, my family, my friends, places I go that have, you know, lived in the same place my whole entire life. And it's not always like how it's perceived, you know. I mean, most of the time when you focus on an actor's premiere time or movie time or media time, when a lot of attention is focused on you. But other than that, you know, with a good hat and glasses, I'm pretty much able to go wherever the hell I want.